Nobody warned you about this part. They told you to tell the truth. Your parents said it. Your teachers said it. Every motivational quote you ever scrolled past said it. Honesty is the best policy. The truth will set you free. Be real, be authentic, be genuine. And you believed them. You built your entire way of moving through the world around that belief. And then quietly, experience by experience, you started to notice something that nobody in any of those quotes ever mentioned. The truth costs you. Sometimes it costs you the room. Sometimes it costs you the relationship. Sometimes it costs you the job, the invitation, the peace, and the people who told you to be honest. They are almost never the ones who pay the bill. So when did you first figure this out? There was probably a moment. Someone asked you a direct question, and you gave them a direct answer and watched their face change. Not in the way people say it will. Not in the grateful, relieved, finally someone told me way. In the cold, quiet, I did not actually want to know way. You told your friend the relationship was not good for them. You told your colleague the idea had a real problem. You told someone in your family the thing they had been carefully avoiding, and instead of being thanked for it, you became the problem, the difficult one, the one who needs to learn when to speak and when to stay quiet. And somewhere in the back of your mind, you started doing the math. You started noticing that the people who smiled and nodded and said what the room wanted to hear moved through the world with far less friction than you did. That is not your imagination. That is documented. Psychologists who study social honesty have identified what they call the honesty penalty, the measurable social cost that individuals pay for telling the truth when the truth is unwelcome. A landmark study from researchers at the University of Chicago found something that should be required reading for everyone who was ever told that honesty builds trust. It does, but only over time and only with the right people. In the short term, people who deliver accurate but uncomfortable feedback are consistently rated as less likable, less warm, and less socially intelligent than people who soften the truth or avoid it entirely. Not less competent, less likable. In other words, the room does not punish you for being wrong. It punishes you for being right at the wrong moment. But here is where it gets complicated, because the cost of honesty is not distributed evenly. Research on what psychologists call truth-telling in hierarchical relationships shows that the social penalty for honesty is highest when the honest person has less power than the person they are being honest with. A subordinate who tells their manager a difficult truth faces real professional risk. A child who tells a parent an uncomfortable reality faces emotional consequences. A friend who is honest with someone more socially central to a group faces exclusion. The people with the least structural protection are consistently the ones who pay the most for telling the truth. And the people at the top of any hierarchy, the ones most insulated from honest feedback, are paradoxically the ones who need it most and receive it least. That is not a flaw in the system. For certain people in that system, it is a feature. Here is something that no one talks about honestly, which is itself a kind of irony. Honesty is exhausting not just because of the external consequences, but because of what it requires internally. Telling the truth when it is inconvenient means staying present to your own perception when every social cue in the room is pressuring you to abandon it. It means holding your read on a situation steady against someone else's discomfort, their pushback, their sudden coldness, their very pointed silence. Research on cognitive load and social conformity found that resisting group pressure activates the same neural regions associated with physical pain and emotional threat. In other words, the moment you hold a truth that the room does not want to hear, your brain registers it as danger. And the people around you are not consciously trying to make you feel that way. They do not need to. The social system does it automatically. And yet, here you are, still telling the truth, still saying the thing, still being the person in the room who will not just agree to agree. There is a word for that. Several, actually, and most of them are not compliments in the moment they are given. Blunt, tactless, too much, difficult to work with. But here is a different word, one that takes longer to earn and longer to recognize. Trustworthy, not in the shallow, agreeable, never makes you uncomfortable sense of the word, in the real sense. In the sense that when things actually matter, when the decision is real and the stakes are high, and someone genuinely needs to know what is true, you are the person they call, not the one who told them what they wanted to hear. You, the one who told them what they needed to know. That reputation takes years to build, and it is built entirely from moments that cost you something. If you have spent any part of your life wondering why being honest seems so much harder for you than it appears to be for everyone else, here is what is actually happening. It is not harder for you because you are doing it wrong. It is harder because you are doing it completely. Most people are honest when it is free, when the truth is welcome, when it costs nothing, when it confirms what everyone already believes. You are honest when it is not free, when it would be easier to stay quiet, when the room is already arranged against you. That is not the same skill. That is not even the same category of thing. There is a reason the most important relationships in your life, the ones built on something real, have always been built on your willingness to say the hard thing. Peace without honesty is just managed distance, and somewhere, someone in your life knows that you are the only person in the room they can actually trust. That is not nothing. That is everything. Leave a comment below. Tell me the truth that cost you the most to tell. I read every single one.